It is the start of a new millennium, and a century since the Great Migration brought the first bulk of African American laborers into the industrial cities of the North. And much like the dawn of the 20th century, which carried over the burning embers of oppression from the century before, the shadow of discrimination stretches its long fingers across the last light of the old millennium, and into the dawn of the new.
The practice of zoning acts as a modern form of segregation and keeps many African Americans from pursuing more prestigious jobs or even from pursuing success at all. On the surface, zoning laws look like simple restriction on land use, but actually restrictions placed by zoning laws, whether they be restrictions on multifamily housing, minimum lot size, or so forth, all lead to segregation by income, which in turn leads to segregation by race. Zoning concentrates many African Americans in poor, low-income areas, and studies have shown that this poor job search area could explain up to 40% of African American unemployment.
From 2000 to 2015, the unemployment rate for African Americans has been about twice the rate of unemployment for white people. According to the United States Census on Income and Poverty for the year 2013, the median income for an African American household compared to that of a white household was on average $20,299 less. Furthermore, the census concluded that African Americans were the worst off when compared to other races.
Even in the present day, parts of slavery still exist. Slavery never ended in prisons, it was just reinvented. Inmates work full-time in factories, fields, and kitchens and receive as little as 2 cents an hour. African Americans tend to also be assigned the most dangerous and arduous jobs. The NAACP accused a prison of sending African American workers to the jobs that were the most physically difficult, lowest paying, and with the most significant exposure to toxins. But with prison labor protected under the 13th Amendment, this labor is sanctioned.
From a legal standpoint, the perpetuation of the equal employment issue could be attributed to the introduction of supposedly anti-affirmative action rulings in the 1990s, such as the California State Proposition 209, which prohibits discrimination against or providing preferential treatment to people based on race, sex, color, or ethnicity. These rulings are often interpreted by whites, many of whom still do not trust African Americans to do work, as abolishments of affirmative action programs, which they feel are unfair and provide preferential treatment to undeserving minorities.
Colorblind policies have also created a screen behind which differential treatment may take place. To avoid charges of discrimination, companies often use colorblind language in their policies, which can be used as evidence against charges of discrimination and often is. A 2011 study found that 56% of employees noticed differential treatment in their workplaces, while 57% of employers claim their companies to be strictly meritocratic, with almost 70% of them providing their colorblind policies as proof. In this set, the claims of the employees should be taken as accurate, as investigations into such claims have found only an insignificant amount to be false. This graph compares the claims and counterclaims of racism in the workplace. The size of the circles and squares represent the frequency of the claims. The size of the lines connecting the circles and squares represent the frequency which the claim is met by the counterclaim.
A term that has been used to describe the African Americans in the workforce is last hired, first fired. A study done by the federal government has found that African Americans are consistently more likely to be fired first. However, they found no concrete evidence that proved African Americans were the last to be hired. In this study, they found cases where employers who are considering candidates for positions sometimes fear hiring qualified African Americans because they worry that a lawsuit will follow if they are fired. In the workplace, discrimination cannot usually be pinpointed, but rather racism is present in everyday interactions.
Today, Black women face a struggle in the workplace heavily grounded in intersectionality. Not only is discrimination, conscious or not, still alive in the workplace, but sexism is still a large problem for women of all races. In addition, as Black and other minority races are more likely to be found in poverty or low socioeconomic statuses due to white privilege still dictating much in society, Black women have very limited opportunities for success in the workforce. However, Black women are 2.8 times as likely as white women to aspire to a powerful position. And studies show that the number of businesses owned by African American women grew 322% since 1997. In fact, Black women are nearly twice as likely to be the sole breadwinner for their families, and they are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs. But still, black women make up only 5% of managerial and professional positions. Scholars believe this is because in the US, many brains are biased to ignore black women. They do not think of a black woman when someone says CEO or boss. In order to fix this, businesses need to target sponsorship opportunities for black women and introduce unconscious bias training that dismantles stereotypes in the workplace.
Though African Americans in the United States have earned many rights and victories in their fight for equality, it is alarming how similar the problems are now compared to the past.
These lingering inequalities that remain in American society are especially present in the workplace.
It is imperative that as a community we take an active role in making the work environment a more welcoming and inclusive place, not only for African Americans, but also all minorities.
If diversity is not a priority in the workplace, socioeconomic inequality will only grow as African Americans are disproportionately affected by poverty and low wages.
To do this, we should create more support for affirmative action programs,
Raise the federal minimum wage,
Improve employment opportunities for convicted felons,
Eliminate the practice of zoning.
and create more practices to aid African American owned businesses.